For the rest of today, I've never tried to have this many people, and there's 5 others that are already traveling since last night at 6 p.m. They're already out of the States that aren't be able to be with us today. We have a lot to share about what God did, and there's a couple reasons we do this. One, I think it's great because as missionaries and disciples who are growing, we get better the more we share what Jesus is doing. We're better and better the more we share it. And so I hope you get better and better the more you share what Jesus is doing in your life, as these students will be doing that today. But also, I think you will be blessed by their stories. They're not saying, the stories aren't just for like, look what God did in our lives. Look what God can and wants to do in your lives in and through all these kind of stories as well. Let's just run through a few pictures. I have like 100, but we only put in like 20. So we were in Bayou La Batre, Alabama, and unlike here, it was very hot, but unlike here, it rained every single day. So it's 90 degrees, plus it's humid, plus it's just steaming, plus there's water everywhere, plus it rains, then it's hot, then it rains, then it's hot, like all day long. It's got like the second or third most rainfall, like next to Seattle. You know, that's how much rain it is. Like, and I know we need it, but they had too much of it. So we're doing everything from fixing. There's people, we're painting houses, we're building decks, where we did a lot of painting, a lot of fixing. Just roll through the pictures. You know, some of our people. Oh, it's 20 miles from the ocean, from the Gulf, 18 miles. And so me and Grant and everybody, you know, we were out there. Grant is like the son I always wanted. That would like to go fishing and like you like it for like 30 minutes. We could do it all day, every day, and wake up again the next day.
You got it, bud.
And so we were just digging. He brought his net, and we were just having a fun time digging crabs, like just boom, right out of the beach, and every other thing. So we had some beautiful time praising God on the beach together in Dauphin Island. A couple times, and Grant will catch any creature. It doesn't matter. If it moves, if it's alive, Grant's catching it. All right? Everything, and then he'd show it to everyone. When some people liked it, a frog in their face, some people don't. You know, we figure that out as you go, right? Grant, you learn less. Keep going. People were like clearing brush in like backyards and gardens, and this was like a big. If you could see the before, that was like not bare at all. See, keep going. That's us again. Again, when we see any water, they run out and try to catch fish and crabs and all sorts of stuff. So that's right there on the water again. That's them chopping down a tree. They took a couple hours. They had a good time because they wanted to chop down a tree. There's clearing brush again. They actually did more painting than most people were doing painting. And then we also worked with kids in Kids Club. We can't put any of those pictures up, but a lot of the local kids, you know, some of our people would do kind of a VBS style thing for the kids in the community as well. This was one of the largest camps we've ever been to. Like there were 70 some people. There was a little bit of Kids Club pics. Oh, some people went and worked at like a food shelf where they did like, I don't even know, they unpacked and then packed 2,500 and 2,500 pounds of stuff and then repacked it and checked dates and all that for like the local food shelf, and they did that, a few things. So you just go from place to place wherever it's needed. There we are at the beach again, all of us catching crabs, and I love that. And then one more, that's our whole group picture. There was 14 of us total, but 70 all together, 70 plus. And I want you guys to come up. We're going to share some stories. And one of the highlights for me was to see from Saturday morning when we left and then we got there Sunday night. And everybody comes in their different youth groups, and you're all sitting at different tables, and you're all eating together, and everybody was together, all right? By Monday night, everybody was like one family. I've never seen that big a group come together in that many different churches from, you know, like real quick. And it was just one of the most wonderful youth works experiences I've had in a long time, where the counselors and the kids just really got together. And right now, this is just a quick, give me your highlight, give me just a highlight of the week before we tell them like what we actually learned. Just pass the mic, highlights. Okay. And tell your name.
Oh, okay. My name is Brianna, and I would have to say a highlight from this week would probably be the first day. Okay, so the first day was crazy. We drove 6 hours to this church. We get there, we're having fun, hide and seek, tag, whatever. And by the end of the night, there was a storm, and that knocked out all the power. We had only the spotlights in the hallway, and there was no air conditioning. So you can imagine 14 kids running around a small church to have no air conditioning for the rest of the night. So that was very fun.
Woe is
for
me.
us.
Imagine a person that can only sleep with a CPAP mask with power trying to get sleep. Didn't work.
Yeah, that too.
Not good.
Hi, my name is Anders, and my highlight of the week would probably be like the connections I made with all of y'all. That was like super special. So yeah.
Hi, my name's Aaliyah, and one of my highlights is there's this little girl. I did kids club for the first 2 days, and there's this little girl named Trinity, and we became like best friends. But she was like basically attached to my waist, and I adored it so much.
Hi, I'm Chloe. My highlight was being able to work and meeting new people that live differently from me.
Hi, my name's Kathy. I'm the grandma that went along. My highlight was seeing these kids come together and work. I've been on many mission trips before, but these kids really got into it. My group cleared the brush, and this guy got down in the middle of the brush, cut some trees off. Evie over here was pulling so hard, I was so afraid that the vines were going to give way and she was going to fall down. But they put their whole selves into it. That was my highlight.
And we were the youngest group. I think we were the only group that actually brought middle school. We got some high school here too, but everybody else there was high school. And these guys were like the leaders. Like they asked for someone to pray, crickets. These guys got it. Hey, who wants to be a leader of a work crew? In my van, all high schoolers. I got 3 middle schoolers. Got it. I'll be the, I mean, they set the tone and they work harder than anybody else. And I'm proud of everything that God, so well done, parents and church.
My name is Grant, and my highlight of the trip was probably getting to spend time with everyone and going out to the beach and catching crabs.
My name's Gabby. My highlight was going to the beach.
Yeah.
I'm Evie. My highlight was being with the new friends I made in our work group, and we were streaming our heads off to pop music, and that was really fun.
Awesome. We had a lot of good times. Just hold that. We'll pass it around again. But now we want to tell you about like what we learned and what the theme was. The theme was for real, and I was even using that in the welcome, that God really does love you. His love is for real, and it affects everything in our lives. So we learned overarchingly, the big theme was like how this real love of Jesus transforms us and changes us in so many different ways that we see ourselves differently and we see the world differently, and we not only think differently, but we live differently, and we can love God more and we can love others more. And it all comes from the basis on Romans 12. And we were in Romans 12 every day in a different way, shape, or form. So we really immerse ourselves in this. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. And here's where we get to the real change part. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed, be changed by the power of God, which will renew your mind. The word of God, which will renew your mind, and then you will be able to test and approve, to understand, to know, to live out, to apply what God's will is. His good, His pleasing, His perfect will. And so we're going to share at the end the overarching thing of how God changed us, transformed us, to how we, will take that into living. But I want to first by saying how we got there. So how we got to the end, we started with these themes. The first one was to understand God's love is for real. We started talking about real talk. How do we understand that when we talk to God, we turn our attention to Jesus, we can have real talk with God? Like really just share our feelings. And when we have real talk with God and listening to Him talk, our hearts can be and will be changed. And when our hearts are changed, then we're ultimately able to know God better, love others better, and know the authentic love of Jesus and authentically love because He loves us first, because He really loves us and He wants real talk with us. So Evie, you have a story that kind of fits into this real talk and how that changes our lives. And we had a story that came up in a situation.
Yes. So I basically, say you took to a vacation to the beach or something, and you're really having a great time. But then at night, when I would
like after like I was trying to go to sleep, I would just be thinking about how I had to leave the trip eventually. And like say I had like a test the next week or something, I would be thinking about that test only. And then when the trip is over and I've taken the test, I'll think about the next one. And it's always focusing on what's going to happen negatively instead of focusing on the now. And one of the YouthWorks leaders actually dealt with the same problem as me. And she was talking to God, and it helped her and changed her, just like I've been talking to God, and He's been helping me. So I just think that's really cool that you can talk to God, and He'll always answer your prayers and stuff.
Chloe.
I've been going on this trip made me less consumed with myself and my thoughts. I usually stress out a lot about myself and what I'm going to do in my future. But when I love like God, I know to be looking for others and not myself. And one thing I do to help me do this, my mom taught me this year, is something called binding and loosing. It's changed the way I pray. So since I have a lot of stress, I'll ask God to bind up any stressful thoughts or unsettling feelings, and then loose onto me peace and calmness and just joy. And I've been able to use this in so many different ways.
Awesome. All right, I want to invite everybody to stand because we just want to sing a song about the real love of Christ, and we have a lot more to share after this song's over. So, everybody be seated. You guys come on forward. Most of us are wearing our bracelets today, if we still have them, the For Real bracelets that are just reminding us of this for real love of Christ that has transformed and changed us. And as we're getting to know that better and understanding how real talk can bring us closer to God and Him talking to us, we just then went into the next thing of understanding real clear, and to understand that when we turn our attention to Jesus, we will more clearly see ourselves as He made us, see others as He made us, see through those Jesus lenses we talk about, see ourselves and others more the way Jesus does. Aaliyah, yeah, where's that mic? You have something to say about how God spoke to you about seeing things more clearly.
For me, at first, this trip was to get
Hold the mic up a little there. Yeah.
Hi. Okay. For me, at first, this trip was a way to get away from everything. As the trip went on, it became real clear to me that Jesus loved me and I am not worthless. I've been really concerned about my future, and this trip helped me realize that God has my future in His hands and is walking with me every day. This trip also helped me to be okay with who Jesus made me to be. I know that I don't have to be someone I'm not, and not to be worthy of His love. He loves me just the way I am.
Thank you. Anders, you had something on this one too.
Hi. Despite what my family and friends might say, I am a very antisocial person, and I'm very introverted. And being crammed in a community center with 60 other people who I have no idea who they are or I've never met was a little out of my comfort zone. But this trip, it made it more clear to me how good it is to meet other people who have the same faith as me. And it taught me that I have, despite what I might think, I have so much more in common with people than I may think. Yeah.
Awesome. I said we were into Romans 12 a lot. So we started with Romans 12, 1 and 2, and then we really dug into as well all throughout the week, 9 through 21. And we did this verse where we did the pray over it experience. And so I'm going to read through this and then tell you what we also did one night. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Now, as you're reading through this, what we did, we read through this, and then everybody, not just us, but all 70-some people, all of us picked a phrase or a verse that we said, we want more of this to focus on in the next weeks or whatever. So, love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal. But keep your spiritual fervor, serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. And if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, "It is mine to avenge, and I will repay," says the Lord. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. And do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. I think most of yours fell off. We all had a blue bracelet that we wrote on the bracelet one verse, or we made our own phrase of the verse to remind us of the one we were going to focus on and pour into our lives. So on mine, most of them, because they had like washable markers is what they gave us. And so like most of them like washed off like a day or two later, but they understood what they did. I just happened to grab a ballpoint pen, so I still have mine on there, which is good because I need more memory joggers than they do. They can remember better. But this first, we're not going to put all the verses up there, but verse 9, right, the second that came up, and they had a bunch of paraphrases on the screen too that you could pick from. So verse 9 just jumped out at me, and I wrote on my blue bracelet that's still on right here, it says, despise evil. That's what it says right here on my bracelet. And embrace everything that is virtuous. Despise evil and embrace everything that is virtuous. Because as I was reading and they were going through all those things, and I'm not being conceited, but I was like, okay, I'm decent at serving. I'm pretty good at hospitality. I don't really struggle with those things. But pursuing everything that is virtuous, no. There's my struggle. Despising evil all the time. Give me, hey, on a mission trip, no problem. Give me some downtime. I'm not pursuing virtuousness all the time. I get lazy and apathetic and just sit around sometimes. And I'm like, I want to, God, help me to despise evil and pursue virtuous heavenly things more and more. And so that's why I put that on. And they're going to share the verse or the phrase that they wrote on their bracelets and share why they wrote that. And this is something maybe you guys can go at home and go through these and pick one for your next week or two to focus on. Like, wow, yeah, God, this is what you're speaking to me today.
Okay. Hello.
Keep going.
Well, I'm just, oh, there we are. Okay. So my verse was verse 9. Love must be sincere, hate what is evil, and cling to what is good. I chose that verse because of the three main senses. Love is sincere. And nowadays in our world, most people just go about their day, minding their own business, doing their own thing. And most of the time we walk on the street either judging people by the way they look or what they're doing. And that's not sincere, and that's not love. So having that stick out for me is just like, oh, well, I judge people, people judge me. Why not I be the change, and I love sincerely? And I feel like that's hard. That's really, really hard. But if we all persevere, it's possible,
Thank you.
The verse that I chose was verse 18, which is, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. And the reason why I chose this is because we live in like a world that's like always against us, that's like just filled with like hatred and evil. And we don't have to be a part of that like flow of everything. We can, as long as it depends on us, we can be that change for ourselves and others. And I kind of want to be against the flow, and I want to be at peace with others and have like less hate in my heart.
I chose verse 21. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. This verse really spoke to me because for the longest time I could remember I've always surrounded myself with unhealthy people, and that don't generally want the best for me. These people that I used to think were my friends contributed to the bad decisions I was making, and after one friend went as far as risking my life, I knew it was time for me to make a change. I don't have a lot of genuine friends in my life right now because I have decided to fight the evil with good and to surround myself with people that truly care for me as a person and who wants better for myself.
I had verse 10, be devoted to one another in love, honor one another above yourselves. I picked this because I think it's important to actually commit to love and not just love when it's convenient. And to be able to know that you're not better than others and your priorities aren't always over theirs.
One of the translations that we looked at on I think it was verse 16, it had something about one family. And we are, one family, but it's so hard sometimes to be one family. And the other part of it was living in harmony, and that's hard too. But I really felt like on this trip that the young men and women here became one family. And we want to bring that home and keep that.
I chose verse 12 because I just really felt like it, because it said, don't give up in a time of trouble. It just really spoke to me as in, like, be persistent, don't give up, even when times get hard.
I chose verse 16, do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of a low position and live in harmony. This stood out to me because, like, we're sometimes, like, proud of our position, and we, like, judge others and think, like, just because they're, like, technically, like, a little, like, not as lower, but God loves us all equally, so we should, like, know that we are not better than anyone else.
I chose verse 17, which is do not repay anyone evil for evil. And I am truthfully kind of a vengeful person. I can't take comments without retorting back or saying something angry in return. But I shouldn't do that because that's not Christian. And I should remember that God loves whoever these people are that are being rude or unkind, and ignore their comments and know that God always loves me.
Awesome. All right. Then we went to taking that into back into the real love part. So the real love of Christ and how that fully changes us, that transforms us. And Jesus, again, not only changes how we think, but how we see ourselves and people and those around us. We dove back into that theme again. And Anders, you had a story about how this real love of Jesus was even shown to you and it just kind of affected you.
Yes. So I did kids club the first 2 days, and I met a little 4-year-old boy named Luke, and he was a lot, to say the least. He would run around, like we would be sitting down, and I'd be like, "Come on, Luke," and then he'd like flex his muscles at me and like scream at me, and then run the other way, which was, definitely something. But as we got to know each other more and we would play like Lego blocks during free time, he became like obsessed with me. And it was our last day in kids club, and we were making crafts, and we were making these little like flower crafts that were like super cute. You can like wear them on your wrist or like in your hair. And I was like, "All right, Luke, like, are you gonna give this to your mom like when you're done with it?" And he goes, "No." And he like hands me this little flower. And he's like, "It's for you." And then he like flexed at me and screamed at me anyway. But it definitely was something that made an impact on me and really showed me God's love.
Gabby, you have one. Also from Kids Club, I think.
So yeah, I did kids club too, and there's this one kid, he was really shy, and his name was Cole. He was 5 years old, and I was like being like trying to like be nice to him and stuff, and then like every time you see me, he gets like give me a hug, and it just makes me so happy, and I just like it was like really happy. So yeah.
Awesome. Good job. Aaliyah and Evie, tell this story about something that, I don't want to give too much away, but the first day to the second day, and we prayed about something, and tell everybody what happened, this miracle. Go. Start.
Okay, so the first day, it was Monday night, right? Yeah. So we were trying to make friends because I was telling.
I think it was actually Sunday night.
Sunday night? Yeah, Sunday night, guys. Okay, we wanted to make friends, and I was telling everyone, let's mingle, just like make friends quicker. So we were trying to make some friends, and we asked this girl what her name was, and I'm like, oh, it's Dakota. She's like, oh, really? I wonder how you'd guess that. And it was her name tag, because it was on her name, you know? And then she did the same thing to me, and so I just played along. But Evie and I thought it was like really rude, but we complained about it, which isn't really the holy thing to do, but it's fine. We complained about it to our other group leader, Colleen. She's not here because she's in Florida. Later, both of the girls, her name was Brianna and Dakota, they ended up being in my group, and we became really close. So, yeah.
I mean, the extended version is it came into our whole group in the Bible study that night. We talked about it. We talked about how we put ourselves. Who knows what people are going through? Let's put ourselves in their shoes. And they're like, yes, we're not going to give up. And Aaliyah was even like, God, I think that they're rude, but I pray you prove me wrong, or something like that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give them a second chance, but if they prove me wrong, then that's on me.
But anyway, and so the whole group prayed for that, and the very next day, they get put in the same work crew, and by the end of Monday, when we get back to our small group, they're like, God actually did that in our hearts, and now we're like, actually know each other and like each other because we saw through all that. And so it was just really good about how the real love of Jesus can help us see a different thing in other people. And then we turned this into, okay, in real life, how is this going to live out? All right, how's the real love of Jesus not to become something we talk about, but live out? To know the authentic love of Jesus and how that will transform and change us. Let's put up Romans 12:2. This actually came from Grant's Bible, and I want us all at home and in the room to read this out loud, because this is like the New International Revised Version, but we like the way it just says the last sentence. Everybody read this out loud. Don't live any longer the way this world lives. Let your way of thinking be completely changed. So, a couple people, how did the real love of Jesus change you, affect you, so you can love God and others? Evie had a story.
Back what I was saying about like being like angry at people. Knowing God's love, it keeps me from like, this will sound really bad, hating people, because I can get so angry, and just knowing that He loves other people helps me be able to love those people too.
Grant.
Knowing the love of Jesus had made me more comfortable and able to relate and try to make more friends and care for them.
Anders.
God has shown me that no one will ever love me as much as He does. And because He loves me like that, I can go into the world and portray His love through my actions and love like other people.
Brianna.
Knowing the real love of Jesus really changes the way I see my family. For example, my sister, we all know her, love her, Evelyn. She is 6 years younger than me, and our personalities are complete opposites. Knowing the real love of Jesus helps me understand what she's going through and what she can see differently from a younger age, and personality trait difference is really cool and also frustrating, because I can see the dirty dishes and I'll be like, oh, look, we can put them in the dishwasher. Everyone will be like, no, we can wash them by hand and take 20 more extra minutes. That's great. But that's not what I'm trying to say. So what I mean by this is knowing the real love of Jesus helps me to slow down and take time to work with her and to build her, to learn the skills that you would normally do on a daily basis, like the dishes. And it's just, yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. Gabby, do you have one?
So a couple years ago, I used to have anxiety at night, and it was like really hard to like sleep, and I just like couldn't. And then I prayed to God, and knowing His real love and how He cares for me helped me take that away.
Awesome. So this is going to be a quick thing, and we're going to close with Kathy. Is there any, just pass the mic. Do you have any other just highlights that you want to share? If not, just pass it. No, just keep going. Because a couple of you might have some others.
Just meeting people in my work group and really enjoying being with them and stuff. I had a lot of stuff in common with them.
Awesome.
I guess really just making more friends and wanting to stay in touch with them.
If you don't have anything else, that's great. All right, Kathy, give us a close as the band comes in.
Oh, guys, this was an amazing trip, and it really reiterated to me that we are not made to retire. I retired a long time ago, but you can't retire from serving God. You have to keep that up. You know, at my age, you know, if you don't use it, you lose it. But we are not made to retire. We are made to serve God our whole lives. And I hope that you will see that in these young men and women who we took, because they will never retire from serving God.
Let's thank God for all that he does in all of our lives. And let's rise and sing and praise the Lord for his real love.